All right, everybody, welcome to Imbalance.tv, where everything is Imba. We've got a special Endre with us here as well. You can check him out at Endre.com. And let's get right into this. This is game number 2 between Underdark and LoWeLy for the finals of the CraftCup LITE number 55. And it's going to be on Metalopolis. These players have spawned in cross positions here, Endre. And we've got Underdark currently sitting on 1 and spawning at the bottom in the 6 o'clock position of Metalopolis as the teal Protoss, and up here at the top of the map we've got LoWeLy spawning at the 12 o'clock position as the yellow Zerg, and he is currently sitting on 0 or sitting on Donut. So what do you think, Endre?
So I'm thinking I'm happy about Underdark still being able not only to win this game because I predicted him winning a game, but what I really like is that he is still successful with this fake expand build against Zerg. I really like the fact that because he was pulling off this build as one of the first players I've ever seen doing this, and he's still successful with it. It's really hard to figure it out. As a Zerg player, you have to take some precautions, you have to be ready, because if the Nexus is cancelled, the Protoss player is about to move out, and Spine Crawlers take 50 seconds to finish, and this is just not enough for those spine crawlers to be ready just in time. So
don't you mean 9 years, man? Because
I was actually thinking 200 centuries, but you're basically right.
I think 9 years is a little more acceptable than 900 centuries, man. That is a long freaking time, and we're gonna go through. We're gonna see this pro leave the base now, and maybe go and have a drink at the cafe or take a stop at Rob's Guns, as we do have the urban warfare going on in the city of Metalopolis right now. These players dueling to see who's gonna be able to win this Craft Cup, with the scores currently sitting at 1-0. Lowly's gonna need to turn this one around, and it's nice to see that he's able to get the cross position, the lucky roll on this map, as the cross position's it adds a little bit of gameplay to what Zerg can do. If it was close positions, it would be very difficult for Zerg or for Lowly to actually expand early or do any type of expansion play, because it actually ends up bringing you closer to your opponent.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And I was just thinking about one thing, which is even though the Craft Cup might... Oh, nice pylon, by the way. The Craft Cup might have only a $20 prize pool, and we were talking about many good players participating in it, but winning a Craft Cup on a Friday is still what you can talk about to other teams. Maybe can get you in a better team, maybe can get you some sponsors and stuff on board. So
it's definitely a monumental type of win to win a Craft Cup, even on a $20 LITE tournament. I mean, it adds you to the history, people talking about you, streams talking about you. We sometimes write coverage articles about that person who won, if it's an underdog that took the win, or whatever have you. So it's definitely awesome to win a Craft Cup, and it's very hard to make it this far in the Craft Cup series. There's a lot of big competition.
Yeah, and one more thing I have to say about this whole thing is Braddock, for example. I mean, he is one of the smartest Terran players we have in Europe. He's well known everywhere. In his appliance video for the NASL, one of the references he said for participating in the NASL, why he should play in the NSL, he said, "I won a Craft Cup, I won the IR Maker Craft Cup." So yeah, he thinks really this Craft Cup is awesome in general, the series, and I mean, a lot of people talking about it, and this is a good thing.
Definitely, and a lot of people love to see the competition. There was 353 people that were checked in today, and we're down to the last two, Endre, and we are down into the second game, and we just continue to talk while we wait for things to happen. We're seeing the macro type of game start to happen, as no pushing, no aggression, nothing too intense has gone down. We are seeing the Baneling nest on the way from LoWeLy, so interesting that he's deciding to go for that Baneling here, Endre.
Yeah, I mean, with the Banelings in the last game, he was of course not successful at all. He had 6 Banelings built. Those Banelings cost 300 minerals, 150 gas altogether, and he just basically accomplished nothing with those. with the first Banelings, of course. And when he was taking in the base of Underdark, and just imagine him having just more Zerglings, him having some roaches out, he might be able to do a little bit more in the last game, but this time, this Nexus is for real. It will not get cancelled, because there are only 3 gates out for Underdark. And a small tip for you as a Zerg player, if you're spotting a Nexus, and if you're not sure about this Nexus will be cancelled or not, the answer to that is very, very simple. It's about the timing. If this Nexus is coming up a little bit later, it most likely will get cancelled. If it's up very, very soon, it most likely will be a 1-gate or a 3-gate expand build.
Yep, and with that hallucination finishing up, we do see the first Phoenix moving across the map now. A hallucinated Phoenix, going to give some great vision for Underdark, and we're seeing this little poke from these Zerglings with the wings, because metabolic speed boost has been finished, so these Zerglings are running quite fast, and they are not doing a full poke. They're just going in and out and seeing what's going on. They did see the Forge underway. We do see the cannon now going down by Underdark, and we're going to turn this into a very macro-heavy game, and I'd say that LoWeLy should very well expand soon or do some damage to the mineral line of Underdark.
Yeah, I mean, he's droning up a little bit more. He's just running around with his Zergling. He knows he can't get into the natural of Underdark, and with Underdark getting a photon cannon number 1 and number 2, of course he will not be able to do something, but because of the cannons he knows Underdark invested some money in some static defenses, and static defenses means buildings. Buildings are not that good at moving out to attack, so he knows he's got some free space, and he will not be attacked in the next minute, so he's going for the expansion like you talked about, and this is really good. And he's not only expanding here to the top left high ground, he's going for an in-base hatchery at the natural once again, and with his layer finished with the centrifugal hooks and root, we see some of this new Zerg ZVP style involving a lot of Banelings.
Yeah, that's definitely true, and this macro hatch is going to help him so much when it comes to building out his units. If he loses all those Zerglings and Banelings, he's going to need to keep up the production on them, and that macro hatch will definitely help with that. And we do see the level 2 attack upgrade going down for the melee, for the melee of LoWeLy, as well as a little bit of a push coming out from Underdark with a lot of sentries and some stalkers here. Let's take a look at that unit counting station. That's 8 sentries, 8 stalkers, and 1 zealot. So they will do the damage that they need to do to these lings, and they're going to continue pushing forward. But just as that happens, look at this. LoWeLy going around the back, going to take out these warping in stalkers.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do, but I mean, Underdark, he's on the move. He's got the +1 finished in the next 10 seconds, and he's got not 5, not 6, he's got 7 warp gates, and he will make something happening. But there are the Banelings out, the centrifugal hooks will be finished in the next 10 seconds, and he will be able to force a lot of force fields off Underdark, and then maybe as soon as those sentries are out of energy, something happening, Guardian Shield coming up, a couple of force fields being placed.
Ooh.
And the
Nice
Banelings doing a little bit of damage here.
They did a little bit, but you know what? Those force fields really negated what they were going to be able to do as they try to roll forward. They were blocked off, and look at this. The Zerglings trying to get around the back. More force fields coming down. The Banelings going right in, taking all the shields down on these stalkers, but still only 4 or 5 Zerglings remain. And as I say that, more and more pop out, because that's the way it needs to be with Zerg. And we're seeing them go forward. More Banelings coming in, and I think he's going to be able to defend this with the Baneling push. He's going to need to take out that proxy, that forward pylon, as it were, because he's going to, Underdark's able to warp in 7 units at one time with those 7 warp gates, and these Zerglings are going to have to push back, or pull back anyway, and man, oh man, it's starting to mount up, man.
I am just so surprised, and I'm just so excited about those Banelings, because I just heard about this build, but I never saw this build before in action against mass gateway units, because when you think about Banelings, you think about force fields, GG, whatever, LOL, but those Banelings, they are not only able to deal with the sentries, because the sentries are light armored units, but also with the zealots. And with the zealots gone, those Zerglings just can get rid of all the stalkers, and this is such a nice army composition. You just need to watch out that you micro your units correctly, and because of the speed of the Banelings and the speed of the Zerglings, he was doing a brilliant job at holding this off, even though, because I predicted Underdark to win, I'm still rooting for Underdark, but now I'm so fascinated by those Zerglings and the Banelings here of LoWeLy.
And look at that positioning as he sends those Zerglings right into the front of those Zealots, and he does have one Zergling here that was watching for that expansion. They see this Nexus. It does get canceled and negated, and it looks like these Zerglings will run off out of the base here to meet up with more. And I am also intrigued with this Baneling play. I'm going to have to use this on my Protoss against Zerg because that's my worst matchup. I mean, that's awesome. That was a great defensive. That was a great defensive measure that he was able to take, backing up and maintaining his discipline and making sure he didn't hesitate. He didn't freak out too much because there was a bunch of guys in his base warping in. So a great job there. We do see another expansion going down from LoWeLy right now as well as he pushes in.
Yeah, so the Banelings just taking out the majority of those Zealots once again, forcing a cancel on the Nexus, and because the other Zealots are without shields, LoWeLy says, okie dokie, I have the +2 finished on my Zerglings, I easily can take out the rest of those forces as well, because if your upgrades are kicking in, you should be in a good enough position, and with the +1 finishing for his Zerglings in the next 50 seconds, those Zealots will not be able to two-hit those Zerglings anymore. They will use another hit, have to use another hit to take out of all of those horses out. Meanwhile, at the same time, LoWeLy going for another expansion here at the 9 o'clock natural, moving in with the Zerglings, but not only with the Zerglings, with the Infestors as well, and he's got a lot of energy on those Infestors.
That's right, he does. He throws out some Infested Terran, and he's gonna, Underdark's gonna need to shoot him in the head because they are zombies. They are having the Gauss rifle, and they're doing max DPS right now. And guess what else is on the way here? Not enough time for it to finish up, but Neural Parasite was on the way as well. But it looks like LoWeLy will go ahead and take that win, tie the series up. We're going into game number 3 with both these players sitting on 1 here, Endry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just remembering the good old days of the better StarCraft 2. TLO was making this Zergling Infestor play absolutely famous, but I think this is evolved once again, because with this Infestor, Zergling and Baneling play, it's just an awesome way to deal with those gateway units. I'm still so fascinated right now.
Yeah, man. I think after this and after my meeting tonight, I'm going to go ahead and play some StarCraft and